Hello, 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 and welcome to the nursing news you can use at 5 every Wednesday live. Welcome to those that are joining us on our Facebook pages, Nurse Shark Academy page, and Baxter Professional Services, and those that are watching us on YouTube. Thank you for watching our channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're on YouTube, and don't forget to also hit that notification bell. And those of you that are following us on Facebook, don't forget to give us a like and a thumbs up. We appreciate it. All right, let's get into our show for today, Wednesday, August the 7th, 2024. Very excited about a new month, new ideas, new things coming. Let's get started with our affirmation for today. I think big every day, and then I allow myself to accept even more. I think big every day, and then I allow myself to accept even more. This is from the Louise Hay affirmation calendar for 2024. All right. I wanted to reintroduce a segment that I had a while ago and hadn't done it in a while. I haven't done it in a long time. And so I thought, let's just bring it back. And so I want to bring back our What I Am Reading segment. And the reason why is that I just got off a podcast interview with someone, and they were interviewing me, and they asked me about a book that was influential to me. And the first book that I thought of was Rise and Grind by Damon John. This was one of the very first books you can see here. This is one of the very first books that I read when I launched my business. And it was very inspirational to me because I got to read about these different icons in business and entrepreneurs and how they manage their daily grind, their life. And here's one of the quotes that he had from the book, which goes along well with our affirmation. He says 76% of so-called mompreneurs use their personal savings as a primary funding source. What I take from this stat is that women are often passionate about their new businesses and willing to bet on themselves. When I got to thinking about that, I said, what are you passionate about? And are you willing to bet on yourself? I talked to so many nurses that think, oh, I can't start a business. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I don't have. But yet my question is, what are you willing to invest in yourself to get you to the place where you're ready to take that leap? So I just thought I'd share that with you. This is a book that is well worth reading. And I'm actually going to start reading it again because I thought, you know what? I need to pick up some tips again. And sometimes going back to something that you read a long time ago, you find some nuggets. So recommended Damon John's Rise and Grind. I really like the book. It's on my bookshelf. It's one of those that I've read and will be rereading. And so that's our What I'm Reading segment for today. So let's go ahead and get ready for news. There's a lot to cover in the news today. So let's see, where do I want to start? Little bit of housekeeping. Okay, let me start with an announcement though. Just so you'll know, because I want to get this out there, next Thursday, not this coming Thursday, but Thursday next week, will be our Nursing Entrepreneur Business Enterprise event on LinkedIn. If you have not had a chance to sign up for that, please do. It's going to be great. I am so excited about this event. We were going to have it last month, but then we had some technical difficulties with, power outages and things like that because of storms. And so I want to make sure that we get this out there again. So join us for this great event. All right. So there are a lot of stories to cover. So I'm going to start with our first story here. And this is something that we reported on previously, but it's coming back around and they're looking more into it. And this is that stay or pay suits cast light on immigrant nurse recruiting. So this is some litigation that's coming out. It says Marie Montalvo moved from the Philippines to Tennessee in early 2023 for the opportunity to become a nurse. Her chance for a successful career with competitive pay, starting with training, licensing, and immigration assistance. She had accepted a recruiting firm's offer that came with a caveat. If she dropped out of the program for any reason before her 3-year commitment ended, she'd be back charged thousands of dollars for National Health Corps' investment in her. Nearly a year later, And amid working conditions she considered unsafe, Montalvo decided to quit her nursing home position, but National Health wouldn't let her. Instead, they locked Montalvo into the facility and refused to let her out until she agreed to pay $33,000 for her resignation, according to the class action complaint she joined. Her Filipino co-workers were threatened with the same confinement if they tried to leave too, their complaint said. Montalvo wasn't released until she called an attorney who was only able to free her after threatening to call 911. That didn't stop National Health from suing her for that sum in liquidated damages. That case was put on indefinite hold in June after Montalvo and other nurses sued the Murfreesboro, Tennessee company, two executives and their recruiter, Infinity Care Partners, claiming that they built a multi-million-dollar businesses on the backs of indentured servitude. So let's talk a little bit more about it. National Healthcare didn't respond to Bloomberg's Law's request for comment about the claims, but it's urging the court to drop the case, arguing the plaintiffs want to resign and enjoy all the benefits of working in the United States without paying any costs associated with their new opportunities. Infinity hasn't responded to the complaint or request for comment. Montalvo and her co-plaintiffs are among dozens of Filipino nurses fighting to extricate themselves from similar employment contracts proffered by international hospital staffing agencies. Her case is one of at least 10 such federal class actions filed by nurses who are battling training repayment agreements and provisions, sometimes called traps, by regulatory agencies dating back to 2019. So we had previously talked about these traps before. And so this case is slowly moving forward, and now it's gaining momentum and it's become a class action lawsuit. And so for those of you who haven't been following, because of the nursing shortage, and I use that term loosely, the nursing shortage, states, countries like the United States, UK, Great Britain, they're importing nurses from other places. And we have an agreement with the Philippines for nurses because there's similar education to ours. And there's a whole lot that goes in the background of how this arrangements came about. But they're luring these foreign nurses here and then saying, we'll train you, we'll give you all these benefits, but you are stuck here working for us. And so sometimes the treatment that they get is horrible. There may be some backlash, some racial backlash. There's cultural differences. There's things that happen. And then top on that, a lot of times, if they can't find workers to work, these nurses can't go anywhere. So they're in unsafe conditions, which could threaten their license and force them to take unsafe assignments because they can't leave, or they may have to pay back thousands of dollars, or in some cases may lose their work visas and their path to citizenship. So what they are doing is bringing nurses in and then trapping them here. So the complaints typically cite to the Fair Labor Standards Act and the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, if not both, along with other state and federal regulations. Over half of the cases were filed by Filipino nurses within the last 2 years. More complaints have been lodged with the National Labor Relations Board, compelling one staffing agency to give up the practice of demanding repayment. Staffing agencies and sometimes healthcare facility operators will charge their foreign recruited nurses as much as $50,000 in reimbursement for costs incurred if the recruits leave before their 3 to 4 year contract ends, court filings say. Many of these breach fees aren't prorated, meaning the nurse would have to pay the total amount no matter how long they worked for the company. So if you quit one day before your contract ended, you would have to pay back all that money. And so there's a lot of things that are just not fair. Not fair. So staffing agencies argue that these agreements are necessary to keep their businesses afloat, especially as hospitals have grappled with the unprecedented staffing shortage since the COVID-19 pandemic. Nearly 100,000 registered nurses have left the workforce within the past 2 years, according to the National Council of State Boards of Nursing. Without such a commitment, staffing agencies would not be able to dedicate the enormous resources necessary to identify, recruit, train, and facilitate the immigration of nurses. The spokesman added, this is from the American Association of International Healthcare Recruitment, the spokesman added that the terms of this commitment are transparently explained to prospective applicants up front before they arrive to the U.S. Yeah, those terms are explained, but what they don't explain is the potential working conditions. They don't explain what happens if you get sick and you can't continue. They don't explain, what happens if you're being exploited. Okay, so they don't explain those things. They just say we're going to train you, give you all this great, wonderful life. So traps have been common for truck drivers, pilots, and other types of healthcare employees, the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau said. But unlike the agreements given to those workers, international hospital staffing agencies add costs accumulated from immigration processing, temporary housing, and arbitration proceedings, complaints filed by foreign trained nurses said. The American Hospital Association, American Association of Colleges of Nursing, declined to comment on the practice. Surprise, surprise. Staffing agencies facing class actions, including Advent Healthcare and RN Express Registry, also didn't respond to requests for comment. So nurses in at least 5 of the cases claimed that their employer threatened to report them to immigration authorities or hold them responsible for an undetermined amount of debt labeled as damages or lost profits. In one case, Caribbean nurse Lucinda Byron and Jamaican nurse Latoya Lewis say they've experienced both threats to their citizenship status and a non-disclosed amount of debt. A few other cases described experiencing elements of both these situations. Rachel Dempsey, an employment attorney for Towards Justice, said the factors add an extra layer of coercion for foreign trained nurses stuck in a trap agreement. So there's more to this. This is, again, countries looking for, as they call it, cheap labor. Head over to the Bloomberg Law to read this amazing article. There's so much out of here. I wish these nurses well, and I hope that they get a chance to prevail in court, because I don't think it's fair for you to bring someone here, promise them all this stuff, that the working conditions right now are so horrible in some places that you trap them into these contracts, and it's not fair. And it's not just, these traps aren't just for foreign-born nurses, by the way. American nurses have been caught in these traps, but just the thing that they can't threaten American nurses with is deportation. They can threaten, take your paycheck and not pay you and all these fees and all this stuff. So, very sad to hear. Okay, so let's go on to our next article. And we're going to go to this article about a pending strike. Clarksburg nursing home workers authorize a strike. This is from West Virginia. Workers at a nursing home in Clarksburg voted to authorize a strike last week. Teamster members at River Oaks, a Communicare nursing home facility located on Parkway Drive, voted by approximately 93% to reject the company's final offer and authorize a strike. The Teamsters represent about 45 employees at the facility, including CNAs and workers in housekeeping and dietary. The union said the company's final wage proposal does little to overcome the health insurance costs or bring many of the employees to a livable wage and fails to address the fundamental lack of respect shown to them. They said employees regularly must work 16-hour shifts because the facility is so short-staffed. Not surprised. According to the law, the union must send a minimum of 10 days notice before a strike at a healthcare facility. The contract expired on August the 1st, and the company has not yet contacted the union for additional meetings. So they're hoping that they will come to a resolution and avoid a labor dispute. Many of the employees consider the residents as family. However, the company's actions and stonewall tactics will force a disruption in care to residents at the center. It is a shame Communicare River Oaks refuses to take care of the employees who take care of people's lives. This is a quote from one of the workers there. So this is reported by WDTV. So I wanted to share that with you. So hopefully things will settle out and they will not have to have a strike. But I just have to say, CNAs work very hard. All nursing home staff work very hard, but CNAs work very hard, and they do get little respect. Same with dietary and housekeeping and laundry services. They do a tough job, and I do believe they deserve more respect than what they get. And I've seen it to where management comes in and they act like, they're just peons. All right, here's our next story. This is coming out of from Supermarket News. Now, I chose this news site because one, I could actually get the article, but the other thing is it highlights what's happening in the broader healthcare sphere. So we're talking about pharmacies right now, and health insurance industries. So I want to say this because these are things that are happening out in the world, and you can find those in other news outlets as well. But I just happened to be on this one, so I chose this one. So it says on Wednesday morning, CVS Health Core stock fell after the company reported mixed second quarter earnings, and it's lowered its diluted earnings per share guidance due to poor performance within the healthcare benefits segment. CVS reported net income fell nearly 9% to $1.77 billion, or $1.41 per share in the second quarter, compared to $1.9 billion or $1.48 in the year ago period, due largely to a nearly 40% decrease in adjusted operating income in the company's healthcare benefits segment. That segment includes Aetna, CVS health insurance business, and has 27 million health plan health plan members across Medicaid, Medicare, and commercial insurance lines of business. The company reported second quarter sales of $91.23 billion, missing the target of $91.51 billion. CVS blamed those numbers on, quote, increased utilization and the unfavorable impact of previously disclosed decline in the company's Medicare Advantage star ratings for the 2024 payment year within the Medicare product line, higher acuity and Medicaid, primarily attributable to the resumption of redeterminations, as well as a change in estimate related to individual exchange business risk adjustment accrual for the 2023 plan year recorded in the second quarter of 2024. Basically, they're saying people are sicker, they're actually using their benefits, and it's costing us money. There you have it. So Aetna also reported an 8.8% decrease in revenue for the same period over a year. CVS President and CEO Karen S. Lynch said, "We have many points of differentiation that position us to win now and into the future. We are taking action today to ensure we make the most of our many opportunities, including leadership changes in the healthcare benefits segment." So that also gives me a pause for concern, because I think about, the people that are taking these plans, and basically they're saying they're utilizing their services and we're actually paying out on them, and it's a problem. So those changes include the departure of the Aetna Executive Vice President and President Brian Kane, with Lynch stepping in to take over day-to-day management of Aetna due to its poor performance. Now, this is what's crazy to me. Okay, I'm sorry. You make $900.23 billion, and you're like, "Yep, we perform poorly." This is healthcare. You can make billions of dollars and still consider yourself doing poorly. He says the poor performing healthcare benefit segment contributed to the company's decision to lower diluted earnings per share guidance to the range of $4.95 to $5.20 from at least $5.64, and reduced adjusted earnings per share guidance to range of $6.40 to $6.65 from at least $7. So CVS additionally lowered its projection on cash flow from operations to approximately $9 billion from at least $10.5 billion. So we'll continue to keep an eye on this, but all I know is that there doesn't seem to be enough staff working in my local CVS pharmacy. And I've had many patients complain about that. But now you know. Here's another story that came out, another article. It's from U.S. News, and it says, "Feel judged by your doctor? You might not be imagining it." Okay, so what is reticence? People worry they'll be judged by their doctor if they share mistaken beliefs or false ideas. Now, a new study finds that that's not an unfounded worry. Doctors really do take strongly negative views of patients who share conspiracy theories or unreasonable beliefs, researchers found. People worry about their doctors looking down on them, and it turns out that's an entirely rational concern, said lead researcher Samantha Kleinberg, an associate professor with the Stevens Institute of Technology in Hoboken, New Jersey. Our study suggests that doctors really do judge patients harshly if they share information or beliefs that they don't disagree with, or that they do disagree with. So I was thinking about this because as a clinician, I'm open to alternative treatments and what people are trying to do, but I will say that there is sometimes a frustration because people will believe anything that's out there on the internet, and I think that's part of the problem. Is that you'll listen to Billy Bob down the road who swears up and down that using, let's just say, rubbing alcohol on your infested wound is going to make it disappear overnight. And I'm just making something up, but I'm just saying we'll believe something like that because we have anecdotal evidence, but we won't believe the science behind what's actually been studied and validated. And so I get it. I get it. And like I said, I'm open to alternative things because I think that a lot of that ails us is what we eat, how we live and things like that, and things that are in our environment. So I totally agree with all of those things. And wellness is a very big proponent of what I like to do. But you also get the people that will just go down the rabbit hole and believe anything that someone says. So let's go on to the story. It says, for the study published August 2nd in the journal Medical Decision Making, the research team surveyed more than 350 patients and 200 physicians, asking how they view people who had a range of different medical beliefs. Some of the beliefs were unreasonable, like drinking carrot juice will cure diabetes. And I'm in a diabetic Facebook group, and there are some people that have said, yes, I wholeheartedly agree that pickle juice will solve all your problems and your blood sugar will be totally fine. It may help. I'm not saying it won't help. I'm just saying it may not be a cure. And then beating up on somebody else in the group because they don't believe that it shouldn't go. But they'll have things like this. So they always have something like that. So others border on conspiracy theory, like medications intentionally cause diabetes as side effects to create more customers for insulin. Okay. Research showed that the more unreasonable a person's health beliefs, the more negatively they were viewed by both other people as well as healthcare professionals. We found that our subjects viewed people negatively if they held mistaken beliefs, but viewed them much more negatively if they held more unreasonable or conspiratorial beliefs. This is kind of funny because I just was listening to a political podcast, and I don't get political news show. I don't get political on my show, but, well, I don't talk about politics, like national politics and that kind of stuff. I keep it on the realm of healthcare. But it just makes me think about this conspiracy theories and things like that. You just have to be careful if you're going to be doing any of this. I always ask them, show me the evidence, show me the research. Don't just give me, well, I have testimonials. That's fine. But I also want to see the hard data. And that's where I have a lot of problems with some of these so-called remedies out there. But anyway, I digress. So the degree to which the healthcare professionals held negative perceptions toward the patients espousing misinformation surprised us and suggests doctors may need additional support and resources to effectively treat such patients. So we'll see what happens, but there's more to the story. Go ahead and take a look at it and read it. We've got a lot to cover today, but it just made me pause and think because, I do hear some things and I'm the one that it's hard for me to not let my face show what I'm thinking. And sometimes I will be taken aback by some of the things that I hear people say. And so that makes me more cognizant and aware to maybe listen and understand where they're coming from. And again, I am not one, to say I don't think alternative things will help because I use aromatherapy in my practice but I have the research behind it to say it's something we can use. So this is why I said get the actual research. But anyway, I go on. So let's go ahead and have our next article, and then we're going to take a quick break. Says Michigan nurses are doing better, but still burnt out, according to a University of Michigan study. Christopher Free said workload was the top reason nurses are looking to leave their jobs in 2023, according to the 2023 Michigan Nurses Study, for which Freeze was the principal investigator. We have other evidence that nurses were burnt out before COVID even hit. I told you that. Things got worse with COVID, but the stressors that were already there still haven't been addressed, which is something we've been saying. Staffing issues have addressed, were there pre-COVID. Staffing issues were there. They just got worse during COVID. Compared to last year's study, nurses across the state have reported overall improved working conditions. Okay. Mandatory overtime has been implemented much less. That's always a good thing. And state mandates have led to improvements regarding violence against nurses and other hospital staff. Free says that while conditions were exacerbated at the height of the COVID pandemic due to the increased patient volumes hospitals were facing, conditions in general have slowly been reaching more normal levels, which has reduced stress on many nurses. Nurses were telling us that operations were starting to resume normal speed with lingering concerns that still need attention. Over a third of the nurses surveyed that they're looking for another position, which is worrisome, but I think there is a general sense of moving in the right direction. Well, we'll see. Freeze also mentions that while there are certainly staffing concerns across the state in nursing, as well as other medical fields like pharmacy and nursing home staff, more schools and hospitals are actually implementing several approaches to expand nursing programs and make them more affordable. While Freeze agrees that increasing accessibility to education is encouraging, the main issue is still that many nurses in the state are choosing not to work because of the extensive workloads being placed on them. One solution Freeze suggests, based on the study's findings, as well as other similar studies from across the country, is reducing the number of patients a nurse has under their care from 5 or 6 to about 4. Another possible solution he mentions is prompting by his personal experience working as a nurse during COVID, is adjusting the way nurses collect patient data and utilizing a method called disaster charting. Free said the method slimmed down the amount of documentation and ultimately made its work much more streamlined. So that's the other thing. We could look at how much documentation that we're putting on our staff, because I got to tell you, as a clinician, my documentation has gotten more and more and more. Okay. Every time I turn around, every meeting we have, they have more data that we have to collect. And we have to put it in more than one place to get credit for it. It's just ridiculous. So I can see how it's harder on the bedside nurses as well. And then also the fact that let's look at if you were to make the conditions more favorable for the nurses, they would more likely stay. And we need to be more flexible in our staffing patterns. This is what I see. A lot of times we're just stuck in that old rigid of, everybody has to be there from 9 to 5, and that's the way it's going to be. So anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox for a moment, and we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come right back. Nurses, are you tired of the rat race and never getting anywhere? Have you thought of becoming an entrepreneur? Do you love teaching and you're looking for a way to start your business? Register for our Start Your CNA School workshop at the NurseSharkAcademy.biz. All right, so let's go ahead and get into our next article, next story here. Let's stay in this good state of Michigan. And as an Ohioan, former Ohioan, and now Hoosier, of course I say that tongue in cheek, right? Just teasing. All right, this is from CBS Detroit. It says Michigan's McLaren Healthcare investigating disruption to phone and computer systems. And I'm bringing this out because we've seen more and more of these computer issues that have cropped up, and beginning to wonder what's happening here. So McLaren Healthcare, Michigan's hospitals were sent reeling on Tuesday after disruption struck information technology systems and phones, the health system said. Patients of the system's 13 hospitals, ambulatory surgery centers, physician offices, and other service centers, including the Barbara Ann Karmanos Cancer Institute, were advised to keep their appointments as they worked through the issue unless contacted by an employee. Officials said some non emergent or elective procedures may be rescheduled out of an abundance of caution. We understand that this situation may be frustrating to our patients and to our team members, and we deeply and sincerely apologize for any inconvenience this may cause. We kindly ask for your patience while our caregivers and support teams work as diligently as ever to provide our communities the care they need and deserve. Our team will work diligently with any patient who has an appointment rescheduled. So they are advising all patients to bring the information to their appointments, printed physician orders for imaging studies or treatments, printed results of lab tests, and a list of allergies. At least one website for McLaren's insurance plans remained down on Tuesday evening with an error message and apology greeting visitors to the McLaren Health Plan site. So this makes me wonder because, we just had this whole thing happen with Ascension. Is this another bad actor in the mix? And they said this is the second major tech disruption McLaren has faced in the last year. In 2023, McLaren Healthcare said an investigation into suspicious activity discovered on its network revealed a ransomware attack. In a statement at the time, the health system said some of its data may have been leaked to the dark web and will notify those who were impacted. So we'll keep an eye on this, but it seems that more and more they're targeting hospitals, and we're seeing blackouts and all kinds of things, and not just hospitals, but other healthcare entities. And I say, you know what? As a patient, keep track of what you're taking and what it's for and who's prescribing it to you. Make a list, okay? Make a list. You get your medicine from the pharmacy. It has the doctor's name on it or the prescriber's name on it. Has a pharmacy, the number, all that. Keep a track of your stuff. Save those little slips. Put them in a book or something so that you know what you're taking and why. Because if we have a downtime, we're not going to know what's on there. You're going to have to help us out, okay? So be prepared and keep your data safe. All right, there's a resolution. This is coming from ABC5 about Steward Healthcare in Boston, Massachusetts. So we want to continue our updates on what's happening with Steward Healthcare. And it says a resolution calls for a public health emergency if Steward closes Boston's Kearny Hospital. The Boston City Council will vote Wednesday, which stay on a resolution that calls on the city to declare a public health emergency as Steward Healthcare moves to close Kearny Hospital. The decision comes after Steward Healthcare filed for bankruptcy in July. The resolution urges the city and the Boston Public Health Commission to declare a public health emergency. The loss of Kearny Hospital would pose significant risk to the health and well-being to the communities served by these facilities, particularly a significant population for communities of color and economically disadvantaged residents disproportionately impacted by service closures. It also urges the state to step in and to keep the hospital running if and when Steward closes Kearny, which is scheduled to shut down at the end of August. Ahead of the Boston City Council meeting, doctors and nurses who work at Kearny Hospital rallied at City Hall. I think everyone at Kearny Hospital right now is still hoping that it can be saved because it plays such a critical role to the community and the people who work here. A lot of them are from the neighborhood and they have been here for decades, Kearny Hospital's Dr. Amy Zhang said. On Tuesday, the AIR Select Board convened a special meeting to address community concerns following the announcement that Neshoba Valley Medical Center will close. AIR town officials pleaded with the Massachusetts Governor, Maura Healey, to intervene. Please, Governor Healey, come out here, talk to us, break the silence, and keep MVMC open, said Chris Tavares, AIR Select Board Vice Chair. Having this place here, it just made us all feel safe. The Healey administration has attributed the closure to financial mismanagement to the company. New bankruptcy documents indicate Steward hopes to sell all its 6 other Massachusetts hospitals by Friday. So there you have it. More going in the saga. I wish them well. All right, so we have another story about Steward. I kind of covered this here, that they are closing 2 hospitals in Massachusetts by the end of the month. Sales of the other 29 hospitals have been delayed, and Steward's CEO Ralph Della Torre has been subpoenaed to appear before the Senate subcommittee. Um, okay. I don't have anything further to say on that. We don't know what's happened with the subcommittee. As we get more data, certainly we'll be sharing that with you. Here's another article. It says most Americans hold unfavorable view of U.S. healthcare system in a new survey. A majority of Americans say that they have an unfavorable view of the U.S. healthcare system in a YouGov poll published Tuesday. 53% of respondents hold a very or somewhat unfavorable view of the system, while 40% hold a very or somewhat favorable view. It says some Americans say that they have personally been treated negatively by a doctor because of personal attributes, including their weight, insurance or lack of insurance, physical appearance, mental health, age, gender, race or ethnicity, or others. Another 32% say they have avoided seeking out medical care because of past negative experiences with a doctor, including 20% of men and 40% of women. Respondents think patients receive worse care for personal attributes at a higher rate than people report actually receiving worse care. 56% of people in the poll said that they think that patients very or somewhat often receive worse care because of their insurance plan, while only 28% think that this happens or never happens or not very often. 27% say they think doctors treat patients worse because of their gender, and 19% say doctors treat their patients worse because of their religion. The poll was conducted on June 21st to the 24th and included 1,200 U.S. adults. The margin of error is about 4 percentage points. So this is from The Hill. And so just thinking about this, right? Couple that with the University of Michigan study and then this, it seems like, Americans don't have a very favorable opinion of our healthcare system. And I think part of it also has to do with the strict ways of way we have to conduct healthcare now. I mean, you only get a certain amount of time for a patient visit. And gone are the days you can sit there for 30 minutes and talk to your doctor about everything and go painstakingly over your information. Those days are over. And so now it's basically a treat them and treat them mentality. Okay. More on the ongoing saga with the nursing home rules. This is from the Health Brief. It says, good morning and happy Wednesday. After you finish reading the Health Brief, okay, this is a Health Brief. Okay. So it says the Biden administration is moving full steam ahead on its contentious nursing home staffing mandate, even as the battles legal challenges in court. The rule finalized in April is a game changer for facilities that provide skilled nursing and assistance to people who can't live independently but don't need to be in a hospital. It mandates a registered nurse on site 24/7 and requires staff to provide residents with at least 3.48 hours of direct care a day, such as feeding, bathing, or administering medication. Much of the final rule is set to be phased in during the next few years, but the policy also beefs up requirements for self-assessments each nursing home must perform annually to determine whether they have enough skilled workers to properly care for the residents. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services gave operators 90 days to complete the updated facility assessment, and that deadline is Thursday. President Joe Biden filed more than 2 years ago to improve the care for the nation's 1.2 million nursing home residents after decades of complaints about neglect and abuse. His administration's solution, however, has faced fierce pushback from the industry trade groups that claims it's unworkable. And I'm like, is it really though? Is it really though? Because we talked about this before. We looked at how much the nursing home industry makes and how much they say it would cost them, and I think it's doable. Now, is it going to be tough in the on the outset? Yeah, it's going to be hard to meet those measures when you're first starting out, because now you got to pay people what they're worth, and you got to work on a reasonable schedule, and yada yada yada, and all this stuff. And maybe you have to give up one of those, CEO bonuses or something like that. But I really think that it could be doable. It's not asking a lot. I mean, a lot would be saying, okay, you have like a resident to aide 1-to-3 ratio. That's a lot. Okay, this no, no. But anyway, I'll go on because you know me. I'll get on my soapbox. Been there before. All right, so we'll do this one more, and then we'll take a quick break. This next story. Tri-State Area Nursing Home Company discouraged 911 calls, offer bonuses to limit hospitalizations, ex-employee says. Now, this one was kind of crazy. This is CBS News in New York. So it says a former employee of a New York nursing home company says she was fired for blowing the whistle about what she describes as unsafe practices. The Bronx based Centers Healthcare Company oversees the Troy Center upstate and dozens of other nursing homes across New York and New Jersey. From insect infestations in patients' rooms to holes in the ceiling, former nursing director Sherry Reppenhagen said she complained to her bosses about those problems and more at the Troy Center because she wanted things to improve at the upstate nursing home. They would give me wrath about it all the time, but I think they knew I wasn't going to back down, she said. She also pushed back the most when administrators discouraged nurses for calling 911 for patients in need. She said she wanted to send a patient to the hospital last year. The medical director instead told her to wait an hour and reassess. I hung up and went and reassessed the patient immediately and called 911. If you had waited an hour, what kind of situation would that have put the patient in? Reppenhagen also showed CBS New York investigative reporter Tim McNicholas a picture of a slide from a presentation titled $10,000 for top administrator and director of nursing. The Troy Center's administrator at the time texted it to her in June of 2023 and wrote, "It's a competition that if we improve our hospitalizations the most from all the facilities, we can win $10K each." It was disgusting and it wasn't going to happen in our facility, not while I was there. I wasn't going to make that a reason to not send people to the hospital. Wow. And so just so you can see it, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because sometimes I do this because I think it's important. Okay. And hold on one second. We're having some issues with Facebook on the Baxter Professional Services page. And you know how they do. Give us one second. Technical difficulties. All right, now we're reconnected. We're good to go. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. So that you can see it. It says $10,000 for top administrator and DON. Here's the payout. 100 is the top score. Here's the breakdown. So you get 12 points for best, return from hospital rate. 20 points for best rate through June through October. 20 points for best improvement rate comparing from June to October. So this is how you break it. These are the incentives. This is what she showed them. So I'm just saying it. I'm just letting you know. This is what she shared. Okay, so anyway, Centers for Healthcare also oversees the Martin Center in White Plains, where Albert Dunn moved after he suffered a stroke in 2019. His daughter, Marie Dunn, said she noticed he looked more ill at the center in 2021, so she urged the nurse to call for an ambulance. Surprisingly, they were telling me no, because literally they were saying, oh, well, they just gave him some. They started him on a round of antibiotics and he should be okay. She said after she threatened to call the police, her dad was taken to the hospital where medical records showed he died 4 days later from respiratory failure. Common sense could tell you, and also a medical professional, you should know that this man needed to get into the hospital to get some medical attention that he needed. So CBS New York reported on Dunn's story last year, where there's a lawsuit from Attorney General Letitia James accused the Centers Healthcare of an $83 million fraud scheme. So these are things that are going on. If you want to read more about this story, please take a look at this on CBS News and what's happening in New York with this. But there's a lot. So we'll see what happened. Again, the nurse says that she was fired in retaliation but she's filed complaints, and that very well could be. I can't say that that's exactly what happened. All right, let's just take a quick break, and then we'll be back in a moment. Nurses, are you tired, frustrated, and burnt out? Are you tired of being called a hero, but feeling like a zero? Are you ready to break free? I'm inviting you to feel the sun. Find the joy and passion in your nursing career. Register for the Kickstart 2024 challenge with the Nurse Shark Academy. Come and feel the sun. All right, let's get on to our next story. Here we go. All right. This is from TC Palm. It says Vero Beach owner of fake nursing school in prison ordered to pay victims $146,000. A Vero Beach woman guilty of duping dozens of students out of thousands of dollars through a fake nursing school that issued phony degrees is at a state correction receiving center in Ocala, where prison officials determined where else should be housed for the next 7 years, court records show. Before her July 23rd prison transfer, Michelle Renee Wimes of 34 of the 1100 block of East 8th Street, excuse me, block of 8th Street Southwest, Vero Beach, had been at the Indian River County Jail since her arrest in October 22, following several months of investigation by Vero Beach police. In June, Circuit Judge Robert Meadows sentenced her to 7 years in prison, followed by 20 years of probation after she pleaded no contest to organized fraud of $50,000 or more, unlicensed practice of a healthcare profession, and 2 counts of criminal use of personal ID information. Meadows also ordered Wimes to pay nearly $146,000 in restitution as part of a plea deal. She faced a maximum punishment of 45 years in prison, so actually she got off pretty good. Wimes, who was also known to students as Michelle Hudson, I remember this case, yes, defrauded 59 people who paid tuition in a scheme perpetrated at the former Grace Medical Training in the 1400 block of Old Dixie Highway in the Vero Commerce Center. She set it up like she was doing a school, and it was a complete scam. For 10 months, Wimes collected tuition from students living in Indian River, St. Lucie, and Brevard counties. 22 victims lost more than $5,000, while others lost several $100s. Graduates of Grace Med's nursing program reported that they were unable to take the National Council Licensure Exam, or the NCLEX. These ladies put their time and money they didn't have in some situations, to do this, to better their lives, to get a better position in the healthcare field, and it turns out they can't even take the test. And the state agreeing to a cap of 7 years in prison, McCarter said the hope is that Wimes upon release, will make restitution payments intended for the fraud victims in her case. I hope they see all of their money. Reached Tuesday, Vero Beach Police Chief David Curry said their investigation started in July of 22 after a former Grace Med nursing graduate reported getting rejected when she applied for state nursing license because Wimes' school was not accredited. It took weeks to confirm how many people had paid for classes and degrees that they never got or were worthless. Wow. So Curry says it's a cautionary tale. Take extra steps to verify the school's history and accreditation before committing any money. We just need to make sure that they're vetted, and you assume that they are. They got the lobby, they got their classrooms, and the people are in the class. Of course they are, right? But unfortunately, in today's times, you got to make sure they're legitimate. I kind of remember that and that case when it first came out. So, and hopefully that'll be a great resolution to those students, and my heart goes out to them. All right, so let's get on to our next segment, which is what we like to call As Nurses Making a Difference. Okay. So we have a nurse here. This is from Health Matters, and it noted that retirement celebration for a nurse. And I always like to, mention their names and tell them who's retired. So New York Presbyterian had been a second home to Nurse Deborah Acevedo for 45 years. On her last day before her retirement, she was looking forward to a quiet goodbye dinner. Her colleagues, though, had bigger plans in mind. The team convinced Deborah to come to a conference room where dozens of her team members surprised her with roses in their hands. As Deborah walked in, they cheered and thanked her for all her years of service. When I turned the corner and saw all of my friends and colleagues standing there with roses, I was speechless. This was really a thrilling experience I'll remember forever. It was a fitting farewell to a nurse who had touched so many lives and a moment to acknowledge the incredible impact she made over nearly half a century. Ever since she can remember, Deborah wanted to be a nurse. From a very young age, the Bronx native was inspired by her father's experiences as a medic in the Korean War and a desire to give back to the community. I wanted to bring excellent health care to my community, and I wanted to be one of the people to make it happen. Deborah received her nursing degree from Columbia University School of Nursing, where she discovered a passion for neonatal care during her senior year of nursing school. As a student, she trained at New York Presbyterian Morgan Stanley Children's Hospital Neonatal Intensive Care Unit and was offered a full-time job in the same unit in 1979. Very quickly, New York Presbyterian became family. I love what I did, she recalls. The doctors and the nurses were really partners in the care of the babies. There's a great deal of respect, and I woke up every day wanting to go to work. One of Deborah's proudest accomplishments as a NICU nurse was helping to establish the Cuddler program at the New York Presbyterian Morgan Stanley Children's Hospital in 2011. The program allows volunteers to comfort and soothe infants when their parents can't be at their bedside. So I want to say congratulations to Nurse Deborah on your retirement, and thank you for being our nurse making a difference today. All right, that will conclude all of our news. So I have a few announcements coming up. First announcement is that, again, I want to repeat that next Thursday we will be having our Lineable event, not a Lineable, excuse me, our LinkedIn event, our LinkedIn audio event, the Nursing Enterprise Developers Collaborative Marketing Panel. Please go ahead and hop on over to LinkedIn, and you can certainly register for that event. It's going to be great. We got a lot of nurse leaders that will be there to talk with you. Also coming up, we have on the 21st, we have our nursing assistant biz training. So if you are wanting to start your CNA training school and you're thinking about starting a school, we'll have a special training that's available for you. We have our workshop on August the 21st. You can sign up and register for that as well. And then on August the 28th, we have our BLS CPR class at Baxter Professional Services Health Education.com, as well as our TB class as well for that. So you can sign up for that, both of those classes at Baxter Professional Services Health Education.com. And coming up for the month of September, just a little shout out, just to let you know what's coming up. We will be having our TB instructor course. Yes, we'll be finally offering a TB instructor course, and you'll get more information about that coming up soon. So that ends all the announcements for today. I look forward to working with you and seeing you. Don't forget again to like and subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, please share the video because I want more people to hear about what's happening in healthcare news. You know, our approach is unique. We want to talk about those stories. Oh, lastly, before I forget, because there is a story that is circulating around on social media, and this is about the unfortunate event of a young man that was involved in a motor vehicle accident where he lost his life. And he was in the hospital and essentially pronounced brain dead, and the family attempted to perform CPR on him when allegedly he did have a pulse and was breathing because he was on the machines, but he was brain dead, so they were turning his machines off. And so there's a lot that's coming out of this. There's a lot of accusations. I am aware of that story. I just chose not to really put that as a forefront. Though I did want to say that this on some education, and my heart goes out to this family because I watched the video. It's been since taken down. So I'm not going to show it to you. But I watched the video. It was heartbreaking to see the family go through that and the things that they had to do. And to me, I think the situation probably could have been handled a whole lot better. I understand the family did not want to let go, but it sounds like to me this young man, who was really being very helpful and a hero in his own right, um, you know, it's hard. It's heartbreaking to lose someone that young. And I'm not going to. I wasn't there. I'm not going to poke fingers in either way. It's a very volatile situation. I want to say this, please, please, as healthcare workers, let's have a good conversation with the families. I don't know what was said or was not said, but that was a horrible outcome. And I have to tell you, we in the Black community, a lot of times we do have some barriers when it comes to accessing healthcare, and we feel some kind of way about clinicians and things like that. And I looked at who was in the room, and that might have been part of the problem. I think the approach that was taken was just not good. And I don't know if and the family admitted they don't understand medical things. All they knew is that he looked like he was alive, right? It looked like that. And so we have to explain, we have to take the time to explain to the family what they're seeing and what brain death means. And I know that there can be miracles. I am a big believer in miracles, but my heart goes out to the family and to the staff at the facility. And I want them, I hopefully they'll come to a better resolution, and maybe this will be um, a learning situation for all of us dealing with this, because I think we need to work on those things. I think this will be definitely a learning a situation of how can we better communicate with the family, because even if the family's right and all this stuff did happen, what they allegedly said, maybe, but I think a lot of it was a breakdown in communication. And I understand that they were grieving, and this is not something that I think that we should be put on social media and share. And this was a horrific thing to witness. I watched the video, which is why I'm not going to share it here. But I'm calling, because based on the two studies and the articles we talked about earlier, I'm just calling on healthcare providers. Hey, let's take a beat. Let's take a moment. Let's sit down with the family. I just, why wasn't there a chaplain involved? I'm thinking all the different social workers, somebody to sit down with the family to explain to them what was happening, because I think I don't know if they were not ready to hear it or what, but the ball was dropped. Okay. And then to have to involve the police, I mean, it was just a horrible show. So I'm encouraging us to do better as healthcare professionals. Again, I'm not passing blame on anyone. I think this could be a really good teaching moment, that something good can come out of this tragedy, that maybe we can have a more civil conversation about what was happening and how we can do better as a healthcare system to support our families in that time of grief. So that's all I have for today. Thanks for tuning in.